What is up, Fabrication Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Fab Forums. Today, we're gonna finish the tube front on the Coupe. We're gonna weigh the tube front compared to factory sheet metal and see how much weight we lost. We're also gonna compare K-members. Yeah. Welcome back to part 2 on the tube front on this thing. So I made some bends, 1-inch tube, and the idea is that they're gonna fit right in here, similar to that. What I want to do is I'll end up welding this fully into the kind of the A-frame portion of the upper fender on these things, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I take the fenders off. But I don't want to weld it now. I want to just tack the bottom, pull the whole thing out so we can weigh it, just to see what we're in as far as weight goes thus far, and then mainly so we can compare it to the stock front end. Where's it at? Right there. And I think the only other bar I'm gonna put in this is maybe one that connects to this down piece, maybe wraps around the front, but I'll kind of wait and see. May do that, may just do a kicker, maybe a kicker that kind of ties in, but I want to wait and see where we're at. I've kind of cleaned up most of this stuff here that I want cleaned up. Took the body hammer, kind of flattened it a little bit. This will all be sanded and painted, so I'm gonna kind of straighten it up if I can. Somewhat. Once we get these tacked in, I'll pull the whole structure out. Pull this out. You can see I've just got it clecoed in on the strut towers. And then while I got it out, I'm gonna go through and fill all these holes, kind of clean all that up. That way when it goes back on, if I'm ready to weld it, I'll be ready to weld it. So that's what we're looking like right now. I just got them tacked in both sides. So like I said, what I may do, and I don't really know yet, may do like a bracket here, some kind of tab that has a couple bolts on it, and then actually make this front piece removable. So I'll maybe come in here and tie in this front structure. Not 100% sure. I still have to put a radiator support bar in here, so it'll kind of go down, curve all the way over and back up. And technically, I guess once I get that in, the radiator's on top, the radiator's mounted to this front section. It'll kind of stir up this front section a little bit more. It does have just a little bit of movement in it, so you get the idea of what we're going for here. And then on the top side, so under these cars, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got like a A-frame piece that's kind of built into the car itself under the fender. I'm guessing this is for crash impact, and it also probably stiffens the top of the strut tower. So that A piece comes out about to here. And then I've just got this 1-inch tube going up and tying into that with just a little angle cut, which is a little bit rough right now. May actually grind it down some more and put a plate underneath it. What I want to do right now is I want to remove the front end on this thing. So I'm going to take the couple bolts out that I got holding it and pick it up. We'll set it off, kind of see what we're looking at without. the front clip, and then maybe clean up a little stuff, sweep, and move on. Okay, all right, so we're making some progress here. You know, I didn't take it out and weigh it, but because I still have to do a radiator kind of down tube core support, I guess is what you'd call that. Let's go ahead and bend that thing up. We'll get it notched, get it tacked in as well. And then, yeah, and then I can pull the front end back off. We can weigh it. I'll do some final TIG welding over there on the welding table. And I think it'll be ready to go back in. The rest of the stuff I can kind of, the miscellaneous tabs and whatever, and I can always weigh any extra components I put on it separately, but I think there's gonna be such a huge difference in weight that even if, you know, I add one bar and it weighs, you know, 1.5 pounds, it's not gonna matter. So, cleaned everything up. So went there and cleaned all the tubes. Now I just gotta figure out from that tube all the way across to this tube, center line to center line, what are we looking at? We kind of want it to be lined up with, you know, about those bolt holes on the bottom of the front fairing, because I want to mount those back again. There's nothing worse than bad boys flapping around. And so I took a measurement, and it's 48 inches all the way across. Now you have to factor in how much length it takes to make the bend, right? Which is not terribly difficult because these things will, let's see. So these dies will actually tell you what the center line radius is, which is what we're looking for anyway. And, well, I said they'll tell you. Anyway, I think this one here is a, oh, maybe it tells us right here. There you go. Just pull it out, take a look. So this is 1 inch by 4 inch centerline radius. So basically what that means is, you know, if we're making the bottom of the, if we want to make a 90-degree bend, from the time that the bend starts till it's finished, it's going to take 4 inches. So in a perfect world, if we're looking for, say, 48 inches from center line of tube to center line of tube to do the radiator support, then you take off basically 8 inch, you just factor in 4 inches on either side. So it'd be 40 inches of flat bar in the middle, 4 inches of bend on each side. That's your 48 inches, should be perfect. You just need to figure out how much legs, how long the legs need to be. One of the other things I like to do is actually do a mock bend as well. So this is the exact tubing that we'll be using. I like to use the exact tubing, you know, because certain thickness walls and whatnot. I mean, the radius is going to be the same, but there's some spring back and whatnot. So anyway, I put, I'll do a mock bend and then I actually mark it. So as it's bending, when this thing gets to, you know, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, I'll put a mark on it. I don't even pull it out of the thing. I just mark it right there on the base die. And so then this is nice to use. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. This is nice to use like when you're mocking up something and you're not using like BendTech software or some kind of fancy software. What I like to do is like on this piece here, I just literally just held this up under there like I wanted it, and then just kind of projected what degree bend I needed to get down to where I wanted to be. And so I picked 70 on this one. And I think I ended up actually settling with like 68 degrees because of the spring back on this tube. But, you know, you just kind of lay it in there, kind of look around. You know, 40 degrees would shoot down here, and 50 degrees, 60 degrees. You just keep going until you kind of figure out where you want the thing to end up. And that's what I did. So I like to use these. I got one for 1 5/8 inch as well. So let me go measure what the actual legs need to be on that piece. I'll probably go over just a little bit because we're going to cut it off and notch it anyway. See there's my 1 5/8 inch piece. Works really well. I actually need to remark this one because it's starting to fade a little bit. But I'll go measure the legs. Will kind of give us 40 inches of flat space. Factor in 4 inches on either side. And also the legs themselves, and then we can kind of go take a look at it, mark it where it needs to be cut and notched, and should be good to go. All right, so from the bottom of that tube to the bottom of the, actually let's go, yeah, the bottom of the tube to the bottom of the front nose piece is about 8 3/4. You know, you don't want to go any lower than that. So we'll just make them, we'll just make some like 9 or 10 inch legs because we'll end up cutting them off and notching them anyway. Another good thing about using these little mock bends is you can actually figure out how much material it takes to bend, to make the bend itself. So we know that we want a 10 inch leg, but what we don't know is how much of that's going to be the leg and then how much of that's going to be in the bend, right? I mean, you know that it's a 4 inch centerline radius. So you know from here to the center line of this tube is 4 inches. Or you know from the center line of this tube to there is 4 inches, but that doesn't mean it takes 4 inches of material to do that. So see, it's 90 there. So you just roll that around. About 7 inches of material to do it. Now it does stretch a little bit, so that 7 inches probably turns into like 7.5 because it kind of stretches that out as it bends it. But now we know if we do 40 inches in the center, we need 7 inches for the bend, which gives us 4 inches of rise. And we're trying to get 10. So 4 6, so we're going to do 6 plus 7, is that right? 13. So we want to go 40 inches, flat bar, make a mark. We want to go 13 inches of extra. That'll include our bend. We can cut off the extra once we're done. I hope that actually made sense versus me trying to confuse you, but basically in a nutshell, it takes 7 inches of material to then get 4 inches of rise. So you got to kind of do the math on that, right? But yeah, let's bend it and let's see if I'm even right. I don't even know if I'm right. let's see where we're at. Got everything tacked together. Pretty happy with it so far. Obviously this is all tacked on. I gotta finish weld it, maybe some gussets and stuff like that. But let's I grabbed a bathroom scale out of the house. Hopefully I don't break it. Let's grab this thing over here, the factory one. We'll weigh it right quick. Then I'll take this one off and we'll see what the difference is. All right, first on the scale. Is the reigning champ. 68.4 pounds. All right, next up is the contender. It's surprisingly light. $19.6. Let's weigh it again. $19.6. That's what we're looking at. 50 pounds. So the difference between this one and this one, we're looking at 50 pounds so far. Obviously I'll probably put a couple gussets on this thing, and then if I end up doing that top bar, I mean, it'll add some weight as well, but let's say it's only 45 pounds. It's 45 pounds. Now let's do the K-members and see where we're at K-member wise. First up, stock K-member. Now this one is lighter than probably modern day Aero Foxbody K-members. You kind of see all these holes cut out. I think they only did that on the 4 cylinders and then the early 5 liters. The later Aero cars basically are solid. So potentially this is lighter than what you'd get on like a 88 and up or something like that probably. So anyway, let's see what it weighs. $77 pounds even. All right, up next, UPR K-member. I have to kind of balance this thing just because. 30 even. Let's do it again just to make sure. 30 pounds even. So 77 versus 30, what is that? 40 pounds? Did just a little bit of math and we're looking at 49 pound savings on the front versus factory, the front tube, and then 47 pound savings on the K-member, with a total savings of 96 pounds. So big savings, 96 pounds up there. It's really good because, we're gonna have turbo probably up there. We're gonna have some extra doodads that are gonna kind of add back to that. And so the fact that we're gonna be under what it was at the factory still is good. On any car that you're kind of modifying for performance, anytime you can move weight off the front or the back and either get rid of it or move it more towards the center, the better off you're gonna be. This allows the car to rotate better if you're doing road race stuff, autocross, or even rotate rotate around the center if you're doing drag racing, you want to weight transfer or whatever. It's just going to be much better anytime you can make most of the weight closer to the center. All right, let's get this bad boy on the bench, kind of finish weld it, get it all nice and tigged up, and then put it back in the car and weld it, final weld it. Oh, I gotta fix those strut towers too. So I got it back in, but I had to take a couple days off because what I realized, I probably need to put some weld-through primer on the back side of those plates. So I ended up ordering some, just got off Amazon, but it took a day or two to get here. So anyway, I got some weld-through primer. I'm gonna pull this thing back off. Gonna prime the actual strut tower itself and the back of those plates, just in case some moisture gets in behind there. I wanna make sure it's nice and protected. Once I prime it, we can put it back on and I can weld it into place, and then we can kind of see where we're at. All right, there it is. Everything's welded in, fully welded. Went through and kind of radiused this a little bit since I've MIG welded everything. And I'll probably come in here with just a little bit of body filler, just to kind of clean it up, sand it smooth before I paint it. I welded the holes closed where the clecos were. I think I'm gonna leave those in there like little rivets or something. I'm sure somebody asked me about it. Hey, is that all that's holding that on? But got it welded up here and went ahead and primed it, just to kind of keep it from rusting up. So now the only last thing I want to do is I think I'm gonna do some little kickers that come off these bars, and maybe have some kind of plate underneath the hood pin where this thing, it'll kind of sturdy this piece up here, and also, you know, obviously make sure the hood's not gonna come flying off or move around. So I'll do that, and I'm gonna leave this just the way it is. I think once I stiffen this section here, the rest of this shouldn't move, and it also allow me to like basically chop this off and make it removable. So I'll put some tabs in there with a bolt or something, and like I said in the previous video, I can take this piece out and it'll be easy access, slide engine and transmission back in the car. So check this out too. So you can see where the jack stands are. The back jack stand is basically right, well, it's on the rear torque boxes, I guess. And there's no rear end to weight the back. And I can pick this thing up super easy. It's like one hand. So like it might be, I don't know, it feels like it might be 50 pounds or 80 pounds. Actually, probably can't be that much. So either the back of these cars weigh a ton, or the whole thing's pretty light. It might be 50 pounds, no joke. So obviously, you know, it's got some weight in the back that's kind of lifting the front, but that just shows you, I mean, them doors, I know them doors, they still have the braces in them. Them doors probably weigh, gosh, maybe 40 pounds a piece. guess when you think about it in its most basic form, the really door is probably the heaviest piece. You got that floor, which is really nothing. You got some glass in there. So my hope is, how dirty is my face? So my hope is really on this build that I can get it down to about 2,500 pounds with me in it. That's pretty lofty considering that I only think the bibster weighs, well, I think the bibster's under 2,000 pounds, but I'm gonna weigh it soon, so we'll find out. But 2,500 pounds with me in it. I had the Goose down to about 2,850 with me in it years ago. And I mean, the motor combination on this one compared to what the Goose had back then might be a little bit heavier, but because I'm trying to get away from the intercooler and a lot of the intake stuff, should be pretty light. Gonna go manual transmission, that should be lighter than a, well, I guess it really depends. The one I go with may be a little heavier than automatic, but automatics are usually pretty heavy, so under 2,500 pounds is my goal. All right, so what do I got left to do? Obviously that first little kicker that's gonna go from here to there. And then I think what I'm gonna do, I thought about, I've got some extra steel over here, some tube steel. Got a whole stack of it. And I bought some casters. I was gonna make like a little caster carriage for this thing. It's kind of roll it around while I'm working on it, because I would like to move it from this spot kind of back there where the bibster is, or just move it around so I can clean and whatnot. So I may do that. Although as light as it is, I may just maybe use some wood blocks like I've got right there, and then just get a couple buddies to help me come pick it up and move it. So I don't know, I gotta figure that out. Under the hood, so you can kind of see, just got a kind of a janky little plate in here of the hood. I'm gonna pull that out, cut some pieces, weld those in, clean it up. I want to kind of trim back this flange piece, clean that up some, and then I got to strip all of this old paint and stuff under the hood and prime it and paint it. That's all that's left up here, I think. I don't want this build to take forever, but I do want it to be done right, and there's things that I don't want to have to tear the whole car apart to get in there to do. So as far as the front support goes, I plan on making, well, I've got to make some brackets that come off of here for the radiator. I'm gonna kind of wait till I figure out what I'm gonna do with that, and then probably have some kind of brackets or some kind of plate or something that comes off the front for the lower part of the front to kind of bolt to. So these pieces here are notorious for kind of flapping in the wind. Definitely don't want that. May trim it up a little bit and, you know, put some kind of mounting tabs in that. And then I think I'm gonna come in here and trim out all this stuff here on both sides just to clean it up some. So anyway, not sure how long this video is, but there you go. The front tube front clip, front tube clip front is done. Well, it's basically done. Get this thing all pressure washed, and we'll get started on the rear section. Well, we're gonna do the firewall, and then we're gonna start on the rear section. All right, homeboys, that's it. Tube front finished. Kind of, almost. Probably need to cap those little holes on the end too, but she's far enough in this video, I guess. Anyways, as always, thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Go do work, son.